If you have not subscribed to Alboa Cinema, this is where you will get everything. So subscribe. Subscribe.
So now, I've wanted to say something about this situation, this Burkina Faso Traoré situation. You know, the entire thing from the time he took over and what has happened since. I've just been watching, because a lot of times these things happen, you know, a coup happens and whoever comes in is just the same as the last one. So you have to give it some time for it to simmer a bit, just to marinate, so that a clearer picture can come out. So there's a lady out there from America I follow called Kim Iversen, which is kind of one of the people I watch for news about America and the dealings and whatnot. So she had a bit of, you know, she had somebody on who's been doing investigations. I don't remember what his name is. So when I saw this, I thought I would react to it, and it will help me also, how do we say, articulate what I'd wanted to articulate about this whole situation. So it is important. This Traoré has excited quite a number of people. Young guy, seems to have come in, seems to be doing the right things. So let's listen to what Kim Iversen has to say. I give you my normal, how do we say? I give you my commentary on the same. Wacha tu angalie huyo Kim Iversen.
And why the West is so different. All right, let's talk about Ibrahim Traoré and why the West is so different.
Ibrahim Traoré, Kim. Anyway, she's American. I've never really had an issue with people pronouncing things. So we come from different
desperate
places
to get rid of him. According to Western officials, Traoré is a gold-thieving warlord clinging to power in Burkina Faso, a Western African nation they claim he's running into the ground. Well, just last month, U.S. General Michael Langley, let me show you his picture here, the commander for the U.S. African Command, he testified before Congress claiming Traoré is stealing gold and using it to protect himself and his regime.
You see, a lot of these people, like these generals you see in the U.S. Army, a lot of these are like old school people who have been ingrained in that, what is commonly referred to as the military industrial complex, where they basically, their business is war, obviously. So if some country somewhere or some leader somewhere is going to curtail either the execution of that, of movement of resources, which is usually what it's about, when it curtails, they always come out with these weird things. You know, they did it to Gaddafi, they did it to Saddam Hussein. They've done it to so many people in South America. So normally they just say, no, this person is very corrupt. This is very corrupt. So the problem we have had in Africa is that every time they make that claim, it's most of the time it is true, because we live with these people here and we can see how they are ravaging us. How they just take everything, they don't build anything. So normally when these people come up at this country is corrupt, they're usually saying the truth. The thing is, of course, in as much as you're saying the truth, like, what business is it of yours? You have your corruption in America also that is being seen right now. It's quite stupendous. Like, I was watching the kind of blatant corruption like I was seeing with the Bidens and the Kamala Harris. It was actually something to behold. It's like you just see blatant the way we use our judiciary here. The same thing. Like, somebody just says, the president just says, I have to sit on this. In Africa, it's been like that. In South America, Eastern Europe, that when people, even right now in Europe, when you are not liked as a candidate, there's usually the lawfare. They call it lawfare. So the cases start, this person did what? They've done that, I think, in France. They've done that in Germany. They did that in Romania, although the Romania guys come back and even become more popular. So the thing is this, when you see people like this come out and say, this guy is doing ABCD, it's because the power is being usurped by these other people, which in my opinion is the right way to go. But these guys they're puppets of that system. They have eaten. They're always going to come out like this. So at least right now, the information age is making it more difficult. So even people everywhere, even in America itself, like this lady here, who's this journalist, they're just saying it now. It's not acceptable. Because like if you look at the number, anyway, let's continue. I can talk forever.
As if using the national bank account for protection and the military is somehow criminal when...
Oh, yeah. So they say... so America can fund its military to almost $1 trillion, but Traoré should not use their wealth to defend themselves. Omera, now I see why people are pissed. You're really very stupid, Omera. Omera, you and your medules, I don't know why you go F yourself. Now you have to be brother. We can Jesus. Now is.
And our own government just upped the defense budget to $1 trillion. But anyway, here's the part they leave
That's immoral. Let's be real. That's just immoral, man.
out. Ibrahim Traoré is not a dictator. He's a 37-year-old military captain who came to power in 2022, not through some elite Western-funded election, but by leading a popular military coup backed by everyday people in his country. Why? Well, because the previous government had completely failed to defend the country against jihadist terror groups who, by the way, largely were formed after the violent U.S.-backed overthrow of Gaddafi. Not only that, but the leaders were actually laundering money for self-enrichment on the side, which is no surprise. So the people of Burkina Faso grew tired of being poor in one of the most resource-rich regions on earth. They were tired of French and American influence, tired of so-called leaders who actually took orders from Paris and Washington. And Traoré, a young, unapologetically African and deeply nationalist man, became a symbol of resistance because of it. And what the West can't stand is this.
Those imperialists consider that we belong to them and our wealth also belongs to them. They think that they are the ones who must continue to tell us what is good for our states. Africa, our continent that suffered so much because of the imperialists. This era is gone forever. Our resources will remain for us and our populations.
Yeah. These are the words of a man who knows exactly.
You see, normally a lot of African, a lot of African leaders would say that, but of course they don't mean it. A lot of the times they're just saying that as a populist thing. Then when they get in, of course, you see what they do. So I think that perception also has been true in that when somebody takes over in a coup. I'm trying to set this up for you people understand. When somebody takes over in a coup, normally what follows is that they say, oh, we are going to save the country, we'll stop the corruption, we'll do this, and they get in immediately. They go back to what was going on, sometimes even worse. They even become more dictatorial. They become bigger thieves. They destroy even worse. So it is on the bedrock of that we have to understand why, in my opinion, this tactic keeps on being used.
What's at stake. Now, since taking power, Traoré has cut military ties with France. He's expelled French troops and demanded control over...
I don't get this France thing in West Africa. It's so obviously nonsense. So that means for it to work, there are so many Africans that are involved to make sure that this setup, because they themselves are making a lot of money from it and keeping power. Like there are so many, it can't work without Africans being part of it. And that's what has become this thing we have. Like even in Kenya here right now, like our president, in my opinion, was bought off with Wakina Biden over there. Although I think with him is anyone who can give him money and try to expand his power here. That's who he is with. The other day he was there with the World Economic Forum. Mara is with the climate people. All these are actually the babies of this entire system, where because they use the identitarian and this what your grievances to try and just this while they are stealing, while they are still funding the terrorists, that funding your opposition and the government. So they are funding all sides to create the endless collisions. So you don't really, most people don't really know what's going on. So while that is happening, they're siphoning the resources, and you're getting poor, and your politicians are just feeding you words, just like our guy here, Mr. Ruto. Mr. Ruto, where?
His country's gold, land, and future. He's rebuilt roads, made education free, and never raised his own salary in the process. He has kept his captain's salary from the military. He's also partnered with China and Russia, and for that, the empire has tried to destroy him. He's already...
So, you see, she has her own biases. So I'm trying to cut through this because also I feel it's important. The thing is, as an African country, if you have resources, you should not tie yourself down to one country or Britain, EU, I don't know, China, or Russia, America. No, you open you open yourself to doing business with everyone. Because none of all these people that say they are good people, they're all creating atrocities all over the world. So let's remove all that. Yes, but to gain leverage in the world economics and to be able to get wealth in your country, you must deal with all these people. They have things you have things they want. Everybody come with your deal. How much? And it must not be just one person or one country or one company. No, everybody. Is this one okay? Sometimes it's usually best as a political strategy to split it up to give different countries. If you have many resources, you can say, okay, you can do the oil, you can do the this, you can do the that. But at the same time, you're making sure that you will, by the end of this exercise, or at least the beginning of this exercise, you are able to do it yourself. Do not ever allow that it's only the foreigners that you want to do business. It doesn't matter if it's Russia or China. If you allow them to do everything for you, to produce everything, to refine, to add value, they will take over. They'll give you crumbs as it's happened, and then it will start again, and they'll know if this guy Traoré leaves, and then the next person comes on, is given a kickback real quick, and it goes back to hell again. So it is important to see these things critically for what they are. I do hope, like, for what I'm hearing and what I've seen, is that it's like there is enough resources. Is basically just producing, just build the road, do this, and you see all these things, they work in together to make. They're like 20-30 million people. That's what you can make. Everyone have more than enough, have a job, have prospects, and what you create that industrial base with this wealth that you have. It is a no-brainer, in my opinion. If China wants to do business with you, okay, you'll have to teach these engineers, you'll have to teach these people, you have to set up a factory here. Those have to be part of the negotiations. They must do things for you, because why do they all want to do? And otherwise, if they don't want to do, you could now dig deeper and go pay experts and get it done. If you don't know how to do it, get experts, get your people taught. It is not easy. That is a process. There's no what. So at the moment, maybe he wants to make sure that the infrastructure, at least the basic one, is good, as foreign companies can do that. But you must be weaning yourself of this reliance on the people that don't have your well-being, as paramount. Even US knows that now. They've started playing hardball with China and everyone else, because apparently, if you don't make your own things, you can be held by the nose, led everywhere. That is really by the core of this. But let's continue to hear what Iversen
already survived multiple assassination attempts, and
that's the thing. But I'm sure that is just the same people in the country, those paid off lunatics, goons, thieves, and corrupt politicians, the ones who want his position now.
Several coup plots to remove him, and the smear campaigns are nonstop. Now, Western media calls him erratic, paranoid, even dangerous, but why wouldn't you be when you're the African David standing up to the old colonial Goliath? And here's what the media won't show you. Across Africa and around the world, millions upon millions of people.
It doesn't matter whether the media shows it or not. Social media is the media now. This mainstream, they can keep their nonsense. We make things trend and life goes on. Then the media has to come to the social media to pull the news, because after they realize, people have moved. Nobody, I don't care. I've told you guys, if you many of you take mainstream media news very more seriously than you should. because most of it is lies and manipulations and propaganda, horrible propaganda. So this is something I have to drum in. Mainstream media is not your friend. Many of you are too comfortable just listening to that propaganda and say, okay, at least I know. You don't know anything. In fact, you are worse than somebody who doesn't consume that news at all.
Of African descent are cheering him on, from Paris to Harlem to Port-au-Prince. There have been mass rallies in solidarity with him, and chants of colonizers get out, France get out. This has been ringing through the streets. Now,
this thing of all the colonizers, France is actually particularly stupid, and vicious. Oh, you call if you are kicked out of a country, you have to be paid money by, was it Haiti or then the West African countries, the Francophone ones, they have to pay tribute. It's like I never understood that. And eventually you tell it's all these traitors, the African traitors, politicians who are being paid to keep that status quo going. And you see, I think it was Mali and the others, they just said no. So yeah, so that's just, at least let's have that clear, because as you understand, for most people, the information they receive, they don't really interrogate the information you receive. And I just thought part of the reason I actually even started the channel was that sometimes it was frustrating just watching somebody lie and manipulate, and most people just believe it. Because believe it or not, I've spent a lot of time on this. Not everyone has. You have other things to do. So that means you don't know. That's whether you like it or you don't know. You don't know you're being manipulated until you are told. Then you realize, instead of accepting, you double down because you don't want to accept that you can be manipulated. Everyone can. When you don't know, you can be manipulated easily.
Oh, this is because for the first time in decades, someone is actually saying out loud what so many African leaders have whispered in private, and that is that the age of Western domination is over. Well, joining us tonight is Theo Wilson. In fact, let me just show you this. You might know him. He is a journalist, filmmaker, slam poet, and activist. And until recently, he was actually an advisor to RFK Jr. on African-American affairs. And you might know him from this viral TikTok video on the subject of Ibrahim Traoré, where he breaks down the truth after he himself traveled to the Sahel region in Africa, where he met with locals and got the story directly from the people living under Traoré's leadership. Theo, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kim.
Okay, so a lot of people in the mainstream media, social media, they're all saying that, this Ibrahim Traoré, he is a dictator. People hate him. This is all smoke and mirrors. You recently traveled.
It's quite obvious people don't hate him. That one is quite, okay, at least the majority of people. And I think it will be a very unpopular thing if you just hate him. You see, you have to have an actual evidential based argument as to why you hate him. Has he stolen? Do you have evidence? Is he lying to people? Do you have evidence? Is he not doing the things that do you have evidence? So all these claims you say, they don't matter anymore. Everybody has a camera. You can say, okay, he's not doing. So your people on the ground go and record the thing that is done. You say he's done and it's not done. What all we are seeing is the things the pictures and videos are there happening, of those things happening.
To the region, and you talked to the people and you saw the influence firsthand. Do the people in the region hate him and think he is a dictator? Is that the real truth?
Oh my God. And the mainstream wonders why they're losing credibility.
I don't think they care, to be honest with you. Just a second. The mainstream, they do these things because they're already paid for. They just paid their propaganda mouthpieces. They just, whatever the boss says, Bill Gates, you say this vaccine is good. You see, that guy pays over $300 million to the media in America. You know how much that can buy, how much loyalty that one can buy. And imagine it's a yearly thing. Now imagine the other all over the world when people like this are funding organizations, they're saying this. When they come to our government, they give our corrupt politicians something and then they turn on us. Start giving them land and special concessions. You cannot be taken to court. I'm happy that thing was removed. That thing was driving me crazy. Like, why? He's a degenerate, Epstein Island visitor. And then now he's trying to say, by the way, Bill Gates, that he's giving out. This is like the 5th time he's saying, I'll give away all my wealth. Do you know where he's giving all his wealth to? The Gates Foundation. Do you know who runs the Gates Foundation? Bill and at least Bill Gates. Like, it's just propaganda. It's not true. He's keeping the money and the power until he's dead. And you see the fact that he's willing to leave this foundation there to continue tormenting people in the name of saving us.
They wonder why.
That was a digression, but it is important.
Like literally, so I've been on the ground in Ghana, which borders Burkina Faso. I was actually in northern Ghana, in what's called the
Why didn't you go to Burkina Faso?
Sahel region. And I spoke to people there. And when I tell you the man's shadow looms large over the continent, he is beloved in countries that have nothing to do with Burkina Faso, let alone where he borders. And the folks, the young people specifically, he's embodying the leadership that they've been crying out for. And because of this populist rise in support of Ibrahim, other leaders, including Ghana's president, is actually starting to take notice and forge alliances. And this kind of upsets the Western power dynamic that they've had over Africa for the last 500 years. So yeah, they love him. They love him.
They love him. So you didn't hear anybody... There was like no one that was like, oh, no, he's a dictator and he's stealing all the gold and running off with it and he's just getting rich off of this whole thing.
Oh, no. In fact, people are asking how come their leaders aren't more like him. And so I think
Yeah, it's because we have so many just useless, greedy leaders that, you know, somebody just... And it is obvious it's not difficult to do because the technology is there now and you can mobilize resources quickly and get things done. The knowledge is there, and if it's not, it can be learned quickly. So it's because you can see, like, it doesn't take much. It's just like these people actually, you have to work doubly hard not to do these things. And they've placed themselves where they just take everything. They just take. They don't build anything. Just take everything. And that's what, you know, like somebody like that, you know, for all we know, he could be taking some money for himself or not. I think even if you're just thinking, he can't just be taking his salary, because I was looking, it's a bit kidogo, because also the government has to spend on him as an office. So it's not just that. In fact, Trump didn't take his salary his first term, the whole term. So it is not because he has the resources, because the government will take care of his resources. If that's the case, that's fantastic. But if he's taking some, you still wouldn't know, because you're seeing actual like things that benefit people on the ground. I'm not saying he's taking, I don't have evidence. I'm just saying you need to understand. You know, a lot of people get, no, I know he's your hero now, but I do not worship anyone. I'll give due praise when it's due, and I'll also give cautions, because I've lived long enough to see people turn color like that. So in this particular case, even if he was taking something, he's doing work with the majority of the wealth that is there. And most of the time, if you are delivering on services on the ground, you know, the free education, the infrastructure and what are jobs, people don't care. If you become rich yourself, I'm telling you that people don't. If you become rich and the country becomes rich, like, yes, you are the front there. Of course, you met people who also gave you deals. I say, Mr. President, just the art of being a president is enough to get you deals. No, as these are facts. These are facts. If he's going to discuss with China, he's going to discuss with Russia, Mr. President will take care of you. Just make sure, yes, we'll do good business. Whatever the agreement is. But it's for the people more than themselves.
what's going on is that he did
Nuance is important. Always be nuanced. Don't become a person worshipper, because people can turn on you.
seize power in a coup. This is absolutely true. The leader he took power from was a man named Paul Damiba. And Paul Damiba had failed at controlling jihadist elements within Burkina Faso. And along with that, there was rumors in Burkina Faso that part of the reason why he failed is because these jihadist elements were being puppeteered by France, and he was nothing but controlled opposition.
I mean, that's, in my opinion, I believe that to be the case. Because it happens a lot. Like, there are paying both sides to act as the opposition and the government. So the government said, no, you act like you're opposing these guys. But of course, in both parties, the people who actually believe it's the thing as it's going on. So they get sacrificed. They join, oh, you're just in the army. You have to go do this thing. You have to go fight. So you'll find that France might be funding both sides. US does that a lot. In the Middle East, they've done that a lot. In Yemen and whatnot. Afghanistan, name it. In fact, today I was seeing that the US, there was some Taliban guy who was being funded for something when US is in. They funded so many of these. So they make up these groups, they fund them, train them, they turn on them. Like, it's all a mess. And France is actually very much in. I think France's involvement in the West Africa has been horrendous. Like, West Africa, really, for the resources it has really fallen behind. Even in my opinion, behind East and Southern Africa. They've really fallen behind this francophone garbage. There's just something dealing. France are really vampiric. Vampires of the worst kind.
Indigenous leadership, especially in French-speaking Africa, is rising up all over the place. So you have Niger, you have Mali, and now you have Burkina Faso, who are forming a trading bloc. And so it's in the air there. And
you form a trading bloc, you have resources, you start building your infrastructure and, educating your population, dealing with China as a market and Russia. You make sure you get the market open to those, their markets open to you, and you start manufacturing. I mean, the list is endless on what you can do, especially when you consolidate and not be a corrupt setup. To make sure that there is the enormous resources you have are well utilized, to produce for the humans that are within your borders. This is not a complicated thing, but a lot of us like to, we don't like to look at just the bare minimums of it, the bedrock. The bedrock. After that, the government doesn't need to be so much in your life. They just set it up for you to build and continue. Avail resources through banks and and do what you need to do, like everyone else. It's not a secret. It's been done everywhere.
Countries that border it are literally saying to their leadership, we need to become more self-sustaining, like Burkina Faso, and profit from our own minerals and not have them extracted through the ECOWAS system. We get into that a little bit later. But everyone loves them and they want more of that in Africa.
It's obvious.
Did you see that there was some development and prosperity? Because one of the narratives we're seeing in the mainstream is that, oh no, he's just stealing everything. And then those that are countering it are saying, well, actually, there's a lot of development going on, new roads. He made schools free for everybody, so that everybody could be educated in the area. There just seems to be a lot of economic prosperity that has been happening since he took over. And he's a young guy. I think he's the youngest world leader right now, or the second youngest ever world.
Yeah, the thing is, we don't really have good systems to nurture leadership in you hear a lot of leadership stuff going on, workshops, colleges, but it's not really, it doesn't churn out any humans of note who can actually do these things properly. And because that process has been interfered with the massive corruption of the generations before, it just doesn't produce good people. So every now and then, just by necessity of what's going on, people like this do come up. They're not enough. They're few and are far between, which should be the opposite. Like, there should be many of these people just fighting to make sure, so that the quality of the person you get at the very top is so high, because they've gone through a lot of quality people. So they've had to outdo really good people. Do you understand? But for us, we take it down to politics. So my tribe and my gender and all the rubbish that doesn't count. You forget the economics. When the economics is sorted, you guys can argue about your agendas and your feminism. No one else. When you are fighting to build things, you don't have those time for those menial gripes. Yes, I've called them what they are. Menial gripes, fake gripes. so that you can get a leg up without having to work for it. Just want to use your immutable characteristics.
World leader or something. I mean, he's like 37.
Yeah. He was born in 1988.
Yeah, people used to be leaders in the 20s and 30s way before because they matured earlier, because they took on responsibility earlier. And you see, the thing is, as long as the people like my generation and older, so long as we continue just building nothing, there's nothing for these guys to come through. Even if you want to say they'll come and correct it, they don't know how. They've not tried it. You can go to the internet and absorb all the videos you want and information, but if you haven't done it, you don't know it. That's what I say. If you have to go through the painful process of doing and failing, changing, learning, doing and failing until you succeed. And that takes time. So by 37, you should be there. You should have worked for at least 10 years and built something or had some responsibilities so that you can scale that up. Because a lot of people just want to say, there's nothing like that. That's why even sometimes when people like Ruto come and lie to you about they're going to give you money and resources and hustler fund utaweza invest now nini. Not everybody can sell boiled eggs, my friend.
And so here's what's going on. There has been an extraction economically that had everything to do with the ECOWAS system, which is an acronym for Economic Communities of West African States. And specifically the franc that the French-speaking countries were using within the ECOWAS system was controlled by France.
Yeah.
And so January of this year, the Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali bloc removed themselves from ECOWAS. And
that was a smart thing to do.
They said, how can we control our own country?
Because the other thing is there is growing pains. When your system has been so corrupted so badly for so long, there are sacrifices the population must take for the change they want. If there's a certain population in a country that was used to getting things because their leaders were in power and they're giving them preferential treatment, they have to learn that is not going to be the case anymore. That they have to now step back and want a meritocracy to take over so that you earn according to your effort and your ability. Of course, now all these things about creating opportunities, this is a cultural thing. What is our culture? Do we build things? That is a question. Do we build things? Because if you don't build anything, people don't get jobs. People don't get products and services. People don't set up adjacent businesses to support that industry. It is the cascading effect of that cultural dispensation where everybody now here thinks, even what degrees, you don't get jobs in degrees. Everybody thinks they have to be corrupt now and do deals. So NGO world, government, incorporates, everybody's doing deals and corrupting the system and not producing. And when they produce, the quality doesn't really meet the market standard. So a lot of us have had to deal with bad services from internet service providers, from Kenya Power, just because we are just accepting bare minimum. Being exploited left, right, and center because of cartelism. Cartels everywhere. I'm sure there's even a cartel for pens. In everything.
If our currency is controlled by our former colonial powers, and with that, they have been able to just execute large-scale development in a way that is really getting the world's attention. So one of the problems with Burkina Faso is that all the towns are separated. They're building a railroad now. They have large-scale road construction, and they have...
You see, the process of actually building the road, if you're using your own money and resources mostly, is also a process of job creation and wealth creation. At the same time, as you're building your infrastructure to be able to allow you to do more business, the process of building the infrastructure is also good business. You can't really go wrong.
An interesting thing that Ibrahim did, which was instead of buying a lot of cars the money that is coming in, like a lot of corrupt leaders do.
Yeah, guys just buy, like, oh yeah, just buy 4x4s. Like, yeah. guys just buy 4x4s here in our country. And in many other guys, you're just driving. You remember that video, you guys? There's a video. I don't know if I can find it. Yeah, where there are so many people in such expensive cars. I think they're going for a wedding or something. One of these pseudo celebs you have around here doing wash. Is it tens or hundreds of like the top tier vehicles in a third world country that doesn't have any manufacturing? Where is that from? Mnauza vichuri hapa wase and stealing from the government and corporates. Like it's so obvious. So it might look like we're having some level of success, but it's not coming from actual good business. It's unfortunate.
He bought a bunch of tractors, and this is key, because the tractors that he bought is something like
People are buying those 4x4s and these are my luxury cars. For what? They don't even work on our roads so well. Like, so you see, guys, why are you buying those cars? They mean nothing. You don't have a factory and you're buying a 20-30 million shilling car. Like morons. That's a fact. You don't even have brand to your name. Nothing. There's nothing you produce to the world. You just steal and parasitize all systems.
400. He dispersed them all over the country Burkina Faso, and now they're becoming food self-sufficient. Then
you see how quickly it happens. Couple of years, and things are like, because the resources, the knowledge, and all technologies are right there. You just need the money, good management, somebody like with a vision. It's right there. And that's why it just breaks my heart all the time. Like we have to argue about basics. Your leaders are not sufficient. Stop pushing Matiangi and I don't know who. And these old geezers who've stolen and destroyed the system. Oh, shut up, all of you. Kwanza watu wa Matiangi na all this you who. All of you are the biggest idiots in this world. Bure kabisa. Useless. You can sell out your country for a few thousands. Bure. Hatuwaeki nyinyi watu sahi. Everybody has to now step up, brother. We don't want this nonsense mnatuwekea. You can't even do, because it shows your mind is so small. Matiangi amekukalia kichwa. Like, who are you? So, who are you, bana? You have no capacity, bana. You're just arrogant, shouting on the internet. You have nothing. No knowledge, no any level of investment in anything. It's just your stomach. Just trying to bust nuts in low quality females. Pure kabisa.
Invested in seeds that were not the suicide seeds that you might get from a Monsanto, but seeds that actually were organic and,
yes.
Like some seeds are supposed to be. And
yes, your president sold you to Bill Gates.
That's what they're gardening with. That's what they're growing with. And now he's creating aid bags when the USAID situation fell apart. So now Burkina Faso is in the position to deliver aid all over Africa.
Imagine
so the idea that he's this corrupt dictator, like we've seen before, sucking the wealth out of the country and keeping it in his own pocket, it's kind of contradicting when you look at the man held onto his captain's salary. Mm-hmm. Did not even take a president's salary, even though he's the head of state. I don't see the evil dictator in that, neither do the people of Burkina Faso.
What about these accusations that he is siphoning the country's gold and using it for protection is what, which to me sounds kind of silly.
Right.
I mean, it's like, I'm pretty sure the taxpayers pay for Secret Service for all of our, I don't understand what the difference is, but anyway,
Right. No. So what happened was I
had to brighten my
there was a ceasing of the exporting of gold to France under his rulership. And you got to understand something. West Africa specifically is no stranger to corrupt rulership. They're no stranger to people.
Choose from thousands of realistic voices to use in your content.
Okay, go on.
Who prey upon the population. This is what makes him stand out.
Yeah.
What makes him stand out is that he's using the wealth to benefit the people. And everybody who knows the history of Burkina Faso knows about a man named Thomas Sankara, who was executed I believe the year before Ibrahim was born. And because of the blueprint that Thomas Sankara laid out of being absolutely pro-development, absolutely pro-people, he's the one who set the example of you keep a captain's salary, don't even take a president's salary, and use the wealth to serve the people. And any advancement that happened under Sankara's watch was never mirrored by any leader of Burkina Faso until Ibrahim.
Guys, this thing is 38 minutes long. That's Kim Iversen. Go to the channel and watch the rest of it. This was kind of, like the I think they're going to talk about the details so you can learn a bit more. I think they have some good information. And as I tell everybody, whatever information, please open your mind and do more research so you know more. If you hear something, oh, he said this, don't just take their word for it. Go and find out more. It is incumbent upon you to inform yourself. There is no one who is out here doing work to inform you. They're here to manipulate you for their own well-being. Hata mimi hapa mkiona. But generally speaking, let's just be honest. If you're not able to take the responsibility as yourself to find out more, it's easy for people to lie to you. I'm just being realistic. I don't want to pretend here and say, well, it's that you need to do that. You need to dig deeper. You need to take a step back every time somebody is offered to you and said, oh, this is your savior now. You need to take a moment, like, what have you done in your life that now I should consider you my savior? What have you done? And if you go without really, being tribal and just be objective, just look at it critically. Okay, when he was given this ministry, this happened, then this happened. Was it good at the end? No. So why am I looking at him anymore? That's the kind of thought process you must have. Dispassionate. Just looking at these thieves and people in front of us. What have you done for me? What have you done? Just feeding me empty words and slogans on the internet and the media. What have you done? Have you built the factory? Have you discussed with America to drop tariffs so that we can do business with Americans? Have you reached out to American companies to invest here? Can you bring some good high quality jobs here to try and, balance out the manufacturing plus consumption? Have you gone to America to say, we need some access to Texas here? We need to sell some vegetables to Texans or whoever, New Yorkers. Have you done that? Just sitting here, just eating, just eating. And everybody just clapping along, and then just shouting, oh, Kasongo must go. I'm telling you the frustrations that we will suffer as Africans before we actually get out of this. I hope people like this, because they've come up so strongly and the information can be shared so fast, it becomes fuel for people to want this now. Don't be told about low-cost housing. Who told you we want the government to build for us houses? Take our money and do all kinds of weird deals. Who told you? No. Create the environment where we can get our own resources and build our own houses. Get our own land. Stop. We don't want the government to do anything for us except the basics that we pay taxes for. Sewage, security, and the roads. Just the normal infrastructure we pay for. Everything else, job creation, innovation, that's our job as citizens. We put too much reliance on governments. We'll always lose because the people who often get into those positions are not good people, or even informed people, or even people who've ever built anything. So they give us an example, So yeah, so go watch the rest of that one. I think it was quite informative. On top of all that, we are obviously, I always have to promote my feature film crowdfunding. We are trying to produce this feature film in the book of Ka universe. It's African mythology, science fiction. I'm telling you, has some high value intellectual property we are trying to build here for posterity. It's not, it's a universe. So we expect to produce this for the next 10, 20 years. Different films, different stories, about African mythology, which I think is a highly ignored but fertile ground for very good stories. So you can go to the till number. We are trying to raise, honestly, 5 million shillings. We are slowly just, whatever comes in, we are in the studio here. We make sure we continue to produce, If you can see here, there's somebody at the back there who's doing some work there, So we continue to build whatever resources come in. So the till number down here, send if you're a Kenyan or you a Kenyan in diaspora who uses till numbers, send something there, whatever it is that you wish. We have various ways that basically you can buy a ticket. Let me show you. Let me show you something here real fast. I have to show you. So there's various ways that you can assist. Let me go see. So because you can buy an early ticket, which is basically like there's a $20 or 2,000 shilling ticket. So you get an online premiere if you're not able to come to location and your name on the credits. Then we have $50 or 5,000 shillings. Special thank you, credit price ticket, and some digital goodies. Then of course you can just donate, and you can just donate. Whatever you have, you go to buy me a coffee/Alboa Cinema. So you can go to my X there. We have our posts there. There's always, if you really want to assist, make sure that you go and follow those ones over there. Then we will be able to finish this film. And actually, by the time this thing is done, totally, we would have worked with over 3,000 people. That's just the truth. Not this film. I'm saying the universe. We would have, and then after that, there's going to be a video game. There's just so much that has to be done. And we are trying to raise capital. This is one of the ways. Of course, we are talking to many other potential investors to try to get this going. So that's that. So I don't know what you think. Guys, please subscribe, like, share this video. And until next time,